tonight you are going to be able to witness human connection really unfold in a natural way, because I just met Ava about 2 hours ago. So as sometimes things happen last minute with events, she was kind of my hero today, as I guess I was telling her earlier. But I think this is kind of the beauty of things sometimes. And I think things happen unexpectedly a lot. And sometimes you just have to flow with what happens next. And what happens next is where Ava and I are sitting together and we're going to have a conversation. So Ava is a young singer-songwriter that has been described to have a honey-sweet voice and a red shoe kind of an attitude.
Not today. Birkenstocks.
So you're in undercover mode today.
Reflective mode. I don't know.
So take me back, Ava. We talked a little bit about childhood earlier. And you know, the things that we love when we're young, how they kind of blossom and come forward when we're older. So was there an experience or a person or something that happened in your life that made you be like, you know, music is really, it's my calling?
Few experiences. My mother, I got to, pay tribute to my mom. She's a dancer, belly dancer, and she would host women's gatherings in my basement. I have 3 brothers and a dad, and we would kick the boys out and have women gatherings in my basement and play tribal music. And so at a young age, even when I was before I was born, my mom would dance. And so I experienced music first through movement. And I couldn't really sing on pitch until about grade 5, but I loved music, and my dad would take me to shows, like little house concerts. He would sneak me into bars, and people would be like, oh, it's okay, she's got an adult looking after her. And I would see music and be able to talk to the musicians, which was really cool. My family would host house concerts as well. And I think the first show that I remember would be the Regina RSO. I was 4, and I remember sitting there and being like, this is amazing. I was really tired. That was the first time I learned you couldn't leave in the middle of a song. I was like, hey, I'm tired, let's go. And he's like, you have to wait to the end of the song because it's polite. But I remember that moment wanting to be on stage. And so that sparked interest. I played classical viola for about 5-ish years. But I really wanted to sing and write music. So it's just, I don't know. And I still have moments of falling in love with music where I'm like, yeah, this is really what I want to do. But yeah, so there's still moments like that. But that was kind of the first, dancing and seeing other people play music and really enjoy it, I think inspired me to try it out.
And it sounds like you had a different experience because your parents really exposed you to what they loved, right? Mm-hmm. So last year you were nominated for an award for SOCAN, and they did this campaign with Sirius XM in Toronto. Yeah. And I was watching her interview, and what really what was interesting, you said something so simple, but you said, I can't relate to the music on the radio. Yeah. And that really struck me because as somebody that's young, and we talk about how music, it's the stories that they tell are all so relatable to human beings in our lives and our experience. So why did you say that, and what did you mean by that?
I guess I was listening to the radio, and as a kid I always wanted to it didn't fitting into boxes was never something that was attractive to me, and so I'd listen, my friends, I don't know, the song Apple Bottom Jeans would play at all my school dances. That's what I grew up with. Justin Bieber came out when I was in grade 6, and all of my friends were obsessed with Justin Bieber, and I was like, I don't get why he's singing about girls. I just did not get it, and I was like, this isn't truthful. I was really I was like, there's something more. I've been to house concerts where people tell stories. They're like, I have been on the road for, weeks at a time. And I was like, that's real. That's what truth is. And I would, I find music is very much, as you were saying, it's very much soul, it's about the soul, and it's about finding truth. And so at a young age, I I knew when it was truthful and I knew when it wasn't. And so yeah, when growing up I was kind of very critical. I mean, there is truthfulness on the radio and I'm less critical of it now, but when I was growing up I was like, this is awful, like I can't relate to, you know, all these love stories and talking about you know, drinking at a bar or going out and partying. I was like, I can't relate to that. But I really love music. I like the way that it, you know, it can move, and I appreciate those songs now. But when I was younger, I was like, I don't get any of this. I couldn't relate to it. So I was just like, I'll write my own songs. And I have like books from when I was younger. I like hand wrote them all down and made pictures of like songs I wrote. And there's like songs about pollution and songs about my best friend and songs about hiking. They're adorable. Songs about riding my bike. But that's what I wanted to relate to as a kid. But I didn't want to sing nursery rhymes anymore. But I also couldn't relate to club bumping music. So I just started writing my own music. Yeah.
And I guess you raise a really interesting point, because when we think of, you know, the top hits that are played on the radio, you know, we immediately associate it to youth.
Yeah.
Right? You know, being young, but it's that age when, you know, you're partying and you're doing things like that. But that's why that statement struck me so much today, was because I was like, what? But I guess, you know, when we forget, you know, when we're really young, you know, when we're a teenager. And
the club,
see,
club
we got some nice background music happening. Like, just like this stuff, right?
It's a jam now.
But a lot of music, like you said, you know, especially modern music, kind of misses out on those stories of youth and, you know,
yeah, the little things.
Right?
It's interesting because now that I've been performing music and touring and stuff and playing music and writing different kinds of songs, you know, I see that those things are very true to a lot of people, and I can see truth in a lot of them too. You know, like this moves me in a different way. It takes me back to like good nights that I've had, you know, with my friends and stuff. And so it's interesting to combine those different things, you know, the good feeling and then focusing on other little things, because, you know, there's a lot of songs about love, but you can still write new songs about love in different ways. So it's interesting. It's inspiring to like find a balance in that and try and be truthful to yourself when writing it. There's a lot of new stuff coming up. I don't know.
And did you find that it's, you know, having this perspective that you do on life where from a young age you were really thinking about what truth was? And I think that's a very, very deep thing for somebody to be thinking about at such a young age. So did you find that it was hard to relate to your peers, or did you kind of grow up with a group of people that kind of, you know, embraced that?
I grew up with people that embraced it. I definitely, I don't know, I'm very comfortable being in my room alone. I was one of those people. And I feel like it was also a little bit selfish because, you know, it's kind of criticizing everything and not, like, there is truthfulness in it. And I was just like, that's not true, or like, you know, that's not real, because I never experienced it. I didn't know what it was. So I guess, I don't know. I don't really have a full answer for that. But I think as in my goals as an artist is to write about different things, or like things that I can relate to. Like you know, I don't drink and I don't do drugs, but I still want to be a rock star someday. Like just changing the normal choruses that I often grew up with. You know, you don't have to do it because, you know, it sells. You can just do it because it's truthful. And I think in music, that's one of the things that resonates the loudest with both the listener and the people presenting it on stage, is what's real, what's true, you know, because it's all about the soul, you know. Yeah.
So you released a EP, 2016, correct? Called Bear.
Yeah. B-A-R-E.
B-A-R-E, Bear.
No animals.
Not like a growly bear, like a
Could be. Not yet. That's going to be my next album.
It's going to be your next, the evolution of the bear. So tell me what kind of soul went into that EP?
Well, it was a lot of, there was an event that took place in my family and personal life, and what I took away from it was I have to take care of myself because nobody else can do that for me. So I set out and I dedicated all of my spare time to making music. I was in grade 11 or going into grade 11. And I had some really great mentors. I set out, I was like, okay, I'm a student, messaged musicians, and I said, let's go for coffee, teach me what you know. And I ended up writing a grant to try and get money to create, because it's not cheap. And so I did that, and it was a lot of self-discovery, and it was like forced to like work on myself. I'd written these songs, and I'd played them for people, and like, you know, sometimes it made them laugh, sometimes it made them cry, but to put it down and kind of mark, this is where I am right now, and give myself the okay to mess up and have it not be perfect, and to just express myself as a 16-year-old, and trying to discover, you know, navigate the whole world in something that I had an interest in, and meet a whole bunch of different people, felt really important to the way that I wanted to live my life. So I had a lot of mentors, people like local musicians in Regina. I just messaged them on Facebook and stuff, and I was like, teach me what you know about, you know, because there is a whole side of business, which Eric was talking about, and I was aware of that, and I was like, okay, I don't want that to hinder me from creating something that I'm really proud of. I just want to do it. So I spent the time in learning a lot about that, still learning a lot about it, but that was kind of the validation in myself, and it was a lot of soul work of being like, gonna do music. It's kind of what it was.
So it's interesting because, you know, when she talks about the soul work and what really goes into your music, there is a testimonial on her website by Runaway Pup, and it says, with songs about changing the world, the interconnections of humankind, and simple, innocent love, Ava tells stories that are full of positivity, kindness, and love. They are universal, powerful, yet personal and uncomplicated. They are what the world needs right now. And I think when you read a powerful statement like that,
it's so nice. It's nice to hear someone like say it out loud.
Wow. It's like the, you know, it gives you the goosebumpy feelings, you know? Yeah. And I think that being able to see what youth is capable of right now. And, you know, the thing that really struck me a lot is they are what the world needs right now. And I just want to know from your perspective in life, you know, what does the world need right now?
A lot of prayers, which I feel like music is a prayer, whether you're religious or, you know, whatever you believe in. I think the world needs a lot of prayers, not just for the bad things, but also for the really good things. I always make an effort to, you know, it's like part of my lifestyle. Everything I write about, you know, I try and, you know, if I'm writing about, you know, peace and kindness and love, every day that's something, it's a reminder that I need to do that. You know, I show up at a show, and if I'm going to sing about, you know, these things, I have to put them into action. So I feel like the world needs a lot of prayer, and it also needs a lot more, I don't know, childishness. I feel like that's been kind of the thing I'm playing with now. I graduated. This is my first year out of high school, and so I have the want to, you know, stay connected to being a child, you know, looking at, you know, sand for the first time, being like, wow, sand is so cool. Like, I can build castles, I can build moats. Like, there's little things, you know, that we, that, you know, the bigger issues in the world can kind of distract us from. But I think the world needs to focus on, you know, the little things, the little joys in life. And yeah, that's something I'm still playing with. Yeah, I don't know.
And I think it's beautiful that's really the idea of what you're playing around with right now, because I think that there's so much noise and a lot of pressure that's happening, especially your age, you know, when you are graduating, when you just graduated high school. Mm-hmm. And the world is really, really loud because the question that everybody always asks you is, what's next? What's next? What are you going to do with your life, right? And it's at such a young age where you haven't even had a chance to have a breather. really understand who am I really going to be in the world, right? So have you struggled with that pressure or that, constant reminder of, Ava, what's next?
Oh yeah, I'm in that right now. And I find trying to, spend more time in like silence and use boredom I find to be very inspiring, because I'm definitely not somebody that, will just do nothing. I've always, got to do something. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I should be doing. And there's often two questions that play into it. It's like what do you want to do, and what should you be doing? They go hand in hand, but it's definitely something that I find to be one of the biggest struggles, because they have two different answers, but they should kind of harmonize together. So yeah, that's, I think, I don't know if that answers any kind of question, but that's definitely what I'm struggling with, is I don't know what's next, but something will be. I'll figure it out.
I think something will come out of the boredom that you're exploring, right? And I think that I love that you brought up that term, because I think that a lot of us need to do more of that in our lives, where we need to be bored.
It's one of the most difficult things, because the internet is so great, like cat videos, those baking videos, I will watch them for days. But like just sitting, with yourself, and coming from Saskatchewan, there's it's really easy to go out and be in a place where there is no sign of people, which is like crazy. Like if you just go, and spend like in the Capel Valley, you can go out and be like, there's not a sign of people living. I mean, there's no like fences or houses or whatnot. But yeah, boredom, I don't get enough of it, but it's a reminder for myself.
How do you make yourself bored?
Yeah, I don't know. Shut everything off, and yeah, I find, your brain can be a scary place sometimes, but it's important to, have that, it's conversation with yourself, because there's a lot of things and people that influence, the real question of like, what should you be doing? And this is what you want, this is what you should want. And there's a lot of things that put that in your face, but I think struggling with yourself and being like, okay, I'll have to have that conversation with myself, I think is important to at least try and achieve. I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't know if it's working. I have no proof that it is important, but this is what I think right now.
I guess I'm curious as to what came out of boredom. So like, did you have a breakthrough or a new thought process or something creatively? Like, has there been a moment where something really powerful has came out of being bored?
Totally. I grew up without a television, so I always felt kind of alienated. As a kid, they would, talk about their TV shows, and I was like, I don't know who SpongeBob is or anything. And so, like, I spent a lot of time being bored, but then also the whole process of getting yourself out of boredom with what you have around you was also very inspiring. I know my brothers struggle with boredom a little bit more than I do. Like, it can be really intense and maybe not so healthy sometimes. But if you're open to just like, okay, I'm gonna, now meditation's a huge thing that, I don't know if you want to call it a fad, or it's something that has become more and more talked about, meditate and take time with mental health. But yeah, boredom, I think, is at the core of it. It's okay to be bored. Something that I have to remind myself, because I'm like, if I'm bored, that means, there's 50 things on my list that I'm not remembering to do. Or there's a lot of things I should be doing, but I'm not. But it's okay to not do them sometimes.
And I think that really fuels your creativity.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess what kind of, I'm always so curious as to how people create things and what they need to do, whether, it's environment or, mindset or, things like that. So what is your creative process? Like, where do you have to be, or what do you have to be doing? Walk us through a moment when, like, one of your most, like, favorite songs that you've ever written came to life. What was happening, and, what were you doing in that moment?
It's a tricky question to answer. I feel like it's something like creativity to to me was always something that was just like, this needs to be part of my life, you know, every day, creating something, you know, whether it's my breakfast in the morning or, you know, the clothes that I want to put on, you know, I'm creating, that's part of my lifestyle. When it comes to producing something, I guess, is a different part of it, like actually, you know, writing it down and, you know, making a song is, it's after that whole, like, you know, every day I'm living, I'm creating, I'm listening to people, you know. So the creative process is just kind of, yeah, every day, and then taking the time to just be like, okay, I'm going to sit down with my guitar for a short while and we'll see what happens. You know, there's no pressure. When I started writing, I was like so amazed that I was like, I can make stuff. Like, so like there was a time where I would like be in my room all the time and I wrote a lot of music, and there was a lot of bad songs, but then there were some really good ones, and that was part of the process of, and there's still a lot of bad songs I write, and then there's some gems that come out and people can hear them. That's kind of the creative process, trial and error, and also letting them breathe, I think, is really important. Yeah, changing all the time.
What did you write your very first song about?
Oh, geez. I mean, it was like bike riding and stuff. I was like 8 or 9. And then the first, I was writing songs, I knew it was awful. I was like 12 or 13, and then I wrote a song, and I just learned the F chord on the guitar, which any of you who are trying to play guitar, it's like you have to bar the full, like I have small hands. It took me like a long time, and I finally got how to play an F chord. And so I wrote this song, and I played it for my mom, and she cried. And I guess it was about her. I didn't really sit down and be like, this is about her. It was just talking about things in my life that I really liked. So, you know, there was elements of nature and my relationships with my family. And I think I was 13 when I wrote that song, and it's on my album Bear, which is really cute. And it's always, I mean, if you break it down structurally and stuff, it's not going to win any songwriting awards, or I don't think, you know, it's not perfect or in any way, but it's really true. You know, I was 13 and I played that song so much because it was the only song I had, and it made people cry and still makes people cry. And there's something really special about, you know, the truthfulness in it, because it was very much, I was so proud of it because I was like, people can hear the song, I think it's okay. And then it's developed and transformed a bit, but that was kind of the first song I wrote, and I thought other people could hear it. It's very cool.
And I think, like you said, you know, really what makes things so powerful is the truthfulness. Like, you know, I think that we keep going back and forth talking about this word.
Yeah. You
know, the power of truthfulness, you know, especially when you're creating something that's so much part of who you are, right? And so, you know, in truthfulness in where you are in your life right now, I guess, what is that truth that you're speaking right now?
I don't really know. I guess it's, geez, I don't know. I have no idea. Truthfulness, I'm experimenting a lot. And with the goal for like my next project is collaboration with other people, and adding more, because I don't know everything. Shocker, I know. I don't know everything, and I'm not good at, you know, a lot of things. And so, the truthfulness now is bringing in other people, because they have a lot to add. And, you know, when I look at songwriting and creating stuff, it's a conversation with, you know, yourself, with notes, with words. You know, it's all a conversation like we're having now, you know, people you meet in the street. And so I feel like that's kind of the truthfulness that I am writing out, because there's personal truths, and then there's like bigger picture truths that everybody is connected to on some level. And you know, when you told me, you're like, this is about the power of music, I was like, oh, that's really like, there's a lot of ways that could go, you know, because there's music, you know, you talk about the mathematics of music and how that all fits together, and it's, you know, we know a lot about, you know, the physics behind it, and there's a lot of those little details, and still, to me, knowing some of it, it's still magic, like that's how I look at it. But then there's also the elements of, human spirit, that it really calls the human spirit to be true, and it'll call them out when it's not, and it's also very forgiving. You know, music is very forgiving. You know, I mess up notes all the time. I forget words all the time, but it can still be a good show because there's the element of, you know, that bigger truth that everyone's connected to. So I'm very open to other truths that are out there, and you know, I watch even like politics and stuff on the internet, trying to stay in tune with the world, but also not be swallowed up and eaten by it.
And I think, you know, you did just say it yourself, really. I think the truth that you're living right now is just letting the world know that you don't have it all figured out. Yeah. Right? And it's okay to accept that's the truth of being like, okay, you know, I've got a little something here. I've got something in my hands.
Yeah, I think everyone has got something to offer. Mm-hmm. I hope to have something to offer to the world. Even if, you know, music, I find, you know, I'm touring across Canada and stuff, the biggest thing is, you know, meeting people. Like I just finished up a tour at the end of April, and it was out to Montreal, and I was like, I don't know anybody. A lot, like I was playing places, I was like, I don't know anyone in Windsor, like, but I'm gonna play a show there, and ended up sleeping on someone's couch because I met them, and they're like, yeah, you can come, I got an extra bed, you can come and stay with us. And so, you know, building that kind of human connection is like, every time I'm like, wow, the world's actually okay, you know, because there's a lot of, you know, you see a lot of horrible things that are going on in the world, and then you go out and meet people, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, people, there's a lot of really good people in the world. So that's kind of the blessing about touring, is meeting a lot of really wonderful people. And I feel like that's partly why I do what I do, is, you know, bringing people together. I play shows, and all those people might not be in the same room together if the show wasn't happening, and I always find that to be inspiring to continue.
Yeah, it's that, you know, those people that are there are kind of there for like a reason, almost, in a sense, right? And it's that always interesting thing about time that brings people together for certain experiences or moments or things like that, right? So, you know, moving forward, and I guess in what, you know, you're planning to work on next. So what is your next project look like? Where are you at right now with music?
Wow. I last year I got some funding from Factor and the Sask Arts Board to collaborate with artists, and I'm collaborating with a musician, primarily his name's Brody Moniger, and we toured together. And he's very talented in, he knows all the mathematics and all the music theory, and played in lots of different bands and has produced a lot of different artists. And so it's interesting to work with him because I'm more in tune with like the feeling and you know what I want to say, and I'm very visual, you know, so when I look at my work, I really want to do a lot more visual work, like music videos and stuff. So it's matching those two. But yeah, the next project is collaborative, and I'm hoping to also work with some musicians in Toronto. The songs are all written by me, but then it's working with other musicians. They get fine-tuned a little bit more, and I learn a little bit more about myself as an artist. And so the next project, that's the next thing, is to collaborate and learn and realize, you know, that I got a lot to learn over and over, and also that, you know, I'm that the songs are good enough for other really talented musicians to find cool is always interesting, because, you know, I'm from my bedroom and taught myself a lot of music, but like playing with other musicians, it's kind of a first for me in that way. So the next project is collaborating and opening, like, here, this is all I got to offer, and then it making it something more. So stay tuned, everybody, for that project. That's the self-promotion. That's all I got.
So do you think that that's kind of going to be, I mean, just where you're at and looking, at the future of music, and, we've had this conversation tonight of just talking about how hard that marketing world is out there. There's this, there's so much noise, and there's so many different ways of doing things, and it's kind of like, that, like, what do you want to do versus what should you do kind of thing, right? It's very intimidating, right? So how do you look at that?
Yeah. You look at it and see it all there. And then it always falls back to, human connection is always like the biggest thing. And I also have to, I still live at my parents' house, so I'm currently not feeling the pressure of having to fully provide for myself, food and stuff. But that is terrifying to look at, that's not going to be available to me for much longer. But yeah, it's very intimidating, but also there's other ways to, there's ways to figure it out, and having the knowledge that nobody really has it figured out. And there's room for everybody, I feel. I meet a lot of different artists, and I know a lot of artists that do music full time. And yeah, I think there's room for everybody. And if there ever gets, I'm also not fully set in stone being like, I need to be, doing music full time. I would really like to tour. I want to tour Europe. I want to tour South America. There's places and things that I want to do. And I'm, taking steps to try and figure that out. But when looking at the whole marketing, it's more about, building a team. That's kind of, I think it seems to be my answer for it. I don't have it right now. I still do all my own booking, and I do my own social media and promotion and grant writing, which is a lot of work. It's definitely takes, it's a balance to try and do that and then switch gears and then do the artistic creative part. So yeah, I guess I look at it and giving time. Scheduling, time management is huge. And yeah, open to things that come along. Like tonight I get a message from you, and I was like, yeah, you know what, I was gonna stay home and watch a movie, but sure, I'll just go out. And I wanted to come to this for a while. I've seen things on it, so following serendipity, and that's kind of currently how I'm navigating it. We'll see if that'll change, but yeah, teamwork and following serendipity. That's the only advice I got.
Seems to be working. I mean, we're sitting here.
Here we are.
So
it's doing something. It's still, it's doing something.
And I think you really, I think that it leaves, a lot of what we talked about tonight. I think the truth is really, really an important piece, right? But I think that figuring it all out is something that we can all kind of take home tonight, right? With it doesn't matter where, how old you are, what's going on, what you're really doing in your life, right? I think it's okay to own up to that truth, really, of just saying, hey, we're all just kind of figuring it out, right?
I hope so. I'm just kidding. Yeah, we're all figuring it out. It's a personal contract you make with yourself. You're like, I'm gonna figure it out, and I will, find a way to take care of myself while doing so. And I will mess up a lot and fail a lot, and I have failed a lot, but surrendering to there's a bigger plans for you that you might not know. I don't know.
So I guess we can end on the note of figuring it out all together.
Cheers to that.
Because we're in it together, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ava, for joining me.
Thanks for messaging me on Instagram. Thank you guys for coming.